least one public member with questions. I kind of like the ambiance. No. Let's
We have
shop. That
ambiance?
was a shopping. Darn, no keyboard, no shopping. Hmm. 5 minutes to give her.
You have a quorum.
I do have a quorum.
Sorry, somebody said that.
It's up to the chair.
I think because people want to get home, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm just not sure. Everybody's over there. Hello, my name is Sandy Tutabeni, and I'm the chair of the Adjustment Board, the Board of Adjustment, and I declare this meeting is called to order. I see we have a quorum, but I'm going to do the roll call nonetheless so that we can take minutes for the individual who is absent. So, Mike Ditta,
Here.
Julie Northington,
Here.
Billy James, absent, Beverly Duffy.
Here.
Okay, thank you very much. So please note that Billy is absent. Julie, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Certainly.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, next on our agenda is item C, consent calendar. Please let me know if you have any discussion points as I go through each. Have you all had a chance to review the minutes from our October 2020 meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I see we had no withdrawals by applicants during the period, the last 3 years, no time extensions, no continuations, and no approvals. Do we have any corrections of the minutes?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. May I get a motion to approve the consent calendar and the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes and I move to approve the minutes and the, whatever,
Consent calendar?
consent calendar.
Any seconds?
I'll second that.
All in favor say aye.
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 Minutes and consent calendar are approved. All righty, now we're here for the public hearing. Please note on your calendar that the public hearing is for variance VAR 2023-01. So please make that correction. This is a request by Jonathan Funk on behalf of the Funk Family Trust for a variance to waive Section 5.3.7, capital D, of the Town of Chino Valley Unified Development Ordinance, which requires that the depth to width ratio of a lot shall be no greater than 3:1 for property located on the southeast corner of West Road 4 North and North Road 1 West in Chino Valley, also known as Parcel 306-14-047B. Before we get started, may I ask the members, have you had any disclosures? What I mean, have you discussed this topic with the applicant? Have you discussed it with his or her neighbors? And if you had any ex parte communications prior to this meeting?
No.
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 Thank you.
It can move. So, no ex partes?
No.
Thank you very much. All right, staff presentation. Jessica Berrigan, Senior Planner. Please start.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairperson Tutubini and Vice Chairperson Dita and fellow commissioners or board members. Thank you so much for that introduction. As you mentioned, my name is Jessica Berrigan, Senior Planner for the Town's Development Services Department. Before you this evening is, as you stated, a request to waive the lot planning provisions that are set forth in Section 5.3.7, letter D of the Town of Chino Valley Unified Development Ordinance, which requires that depth to width ratio no greater than 3:1. The applicant is here in attendance this evening. The property is generally located, as you mentioned earlier, at the southeast corner and of West Road 4 North and North Road 1 West in Chino Valley. That's the location map for you. And the subject property is currently vacant. It is situated within the agricultural residential minimum 5-acre AR5 zoning district and will remain as such. The property directly to the south is zoned single-family residential, 1 acre minimum, SR1. And the properties that are residing on all other directions are likewise the same zoning, AR5. That's a minimum 5 acre. So in front of you, you will see the latest record of survey that was found for this property. It does reveal, as it is represented and labeled as letter C, and illustrates the lot depth as 1,006 feet and a width of 225 feet. As you can see, the parcel does not currently comply with the standards that are set forth in Section 5.3.7, letter D of our Unified Development Code. The requirement is, I'm sorry, the code requires the depth to width ratio no greater than 3:1 again, and since the property was recently acquired from the family, they were made aware that permits were not able to be issued in its current, as it was currently reflected. And the family is requesting a variance to address that 3:1 lot ratio requirement for the lot planning provision there in order to allow for a future construction of a residence. It would be appropriate in that designation as it was shown. It would show no special privilege to the owner, and it would be the best solution for the property owner to enjoy a reasonable use of that land. And with that, staff does recommend that the board approve variance VAR 2023-001, a variance from Section 5.3.7, letter D, and to allow the lot to be developed as a residential use with the conditions that were set forth in the conditions A in your packet. And that's it for the report. If you have any questions, I'm available, and so is the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, does anyone on the board have a question of, may I call you Jessica? It's
Yes,
easier.
Jessica Berrigan.
Okay. Anyone have a question of Jessica?
So the only reason is somebody bought the property, knowing that it doesn't meet the standard, and now it wants us to waive the standard.
That was not revealed to them, and we did not know that ourselves until we investigated it ourselves to look at the configuration of the lot. And once we saw that it did not meet our current code, we looked into it further. And in order to bring it into compliance, it would need to, we would need to have that variance in order to move it forward. Historically, all the historical data from maps in the past show that it was a configuration that was done in the 80s. It had never gone through the proper channels to get it legalized. I'm sorry, to get it rectified. According to our code now, which was passed in 2006.
So do you have plans in planning for the development of this property?
We do not currently, but the owner wishes to do so in the near future.
So technically, they could subdivide this into 2 lots to meet.
No, it is AR5, so it barely meets the requirement to stay consistent with that zoning district.
So would they change the zoning?
No, it would not be necessary.
Okay. did you have a question?
No.
So it would be a single residence.
It would not change. Nothing would change. Everything
Right.
would stay the same. It's just the configuration doesn't meet our current code.
Gotcha.
And the reason it was, it was elaborated in your packets for the 2006 change.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay. I do have some questions for you. In your site analysis and your discussion, you said the inception of the current configuration dates back to 1989. 98 or 89, doesn't matter, 89.
89, yes.
Long time ago.
Very old, yes.
And you also note out the configuration was established, again, you repeat yourself, in 1989 before the 2006 UDO. Can you elaborate on the inception and the configuration and the fact that it's non-conforming?
I did not find any records that would show why. It just showed that configuration was so, and the lot lines had changed more or less to accommodate for other surrounding lots.
Okay.
But otherwise, there wasn't really much evidence other than the surveys from surrounding lots.
Will?
Just
Mr. Dingy, I apologize.
You're okay. Sorry, I knocked over the Garland. Will Dingy, Assistant Director here with the Town of Chino Valley. As Jessica said, just to reemphasize this, the rough approximation of this configuration with the, parcel A, parcel B, parcel C was essentially established back in 1989. However, due to recent lot line adjustments, specifically parcel B encroaching into parcel C, that configuration gets lost and ultimately loses that non-conforming status. And that occurred back in 2020.
Can I bring you my information?
Absolutely.
Let's look at your example, which is actually the surveyor's example. And I know it's hard to read up there on the board, but I can read it here in my computer. If you would put your icon on the assessor parcel labeled 306-14-047. This validates my research. 1989 was a long time ago, so let's just talk about 2012. In 2012, this parcel, all 14.48 acres, was created by the merging of two previous parcels, one known as 306-14-004S and the other 306-14-004S, S and X. They combined two parcels. I regret I cannot find the image of either because those images probably date back to your 1989. So what they looked at, like back in the day, they're long gone. And it became a single 14.48 acre parcel. Let's talk about that a minute. That happened in 12. So for the calendar years of taxation from 2014 to 2020, given that we pay our taxes in the arrears, so whatever transpired in 13 to get us to 14, now it's owned, and it's owned by a family trust, and I don't need to mention their name. They were happy to pay taxes on 14.48 acres. Fast forward to 2020, July of, and it was then subdivided. Someone took the time to fill out the checklist, apply for land division, creating this inappropriate, not to be rude, bowling alley lane called 30, you know where I'm going with that. So it became A, B, and C. And given that this document you're showing us is their surveyor document and not the one legitimately listed in the GIS, which calls it B, and now it is 5.45 acres, the family has been paying taxes on it for 3 years. So I query the inception, the recent, because it's 3 calendar years, and the fact that it occurred in 2020.
Okay.
Comments?
Sure. So let's start with the net acreage, 14 point, I can't remember what exactly it was.
Or 8.
So the record of survey here indicates the right-of-way dedication that's occurred. And under town code, with any sort of land divisions, right-of-way dedication is counted towards your net acreage. So parcel B, technically, usable area is 4.7 and change, but including that 25 foot of dedication that occurred on that western boundary, That nets out to over 5 acres, and the same goes for A and C. So those show your true dedicate, or including those dedications. As far as the 2020 survey, that lot split, that was not processed by the town. That was done by a prior property owner that did not receive town approval. And so the current property owner purchased that from the prior property owner unknown of the situation and is now attempting to rectify.
So you're telling me they requested a land division but didn't follow protocol?
They did not request a land division. They just simply recorded it at the county recorders, the prior property owner.
Okay. That's astounding.
It is to us as well.
Yes. So I wanted to be sure we clarified that it doesn't date back to 89. This occurred in July of 2020. Okay? Thank you.
You're welcome.
All righty. Next on our agenda. No. I would like the applicant or the representative present their side of the story.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Jonathan Funk. I'm a member of the trust. We purchased A and C together as a property. My father, myself, my mother. My father has since passed.
May I, when
Oh,
A and C
yes.
as listed on here,
As listed on this, yes.
knowing full well we're talking about B as filed in the GIS.
Yes, B actually was purchased by my brother 2 years ago.
Okay, so you're representing your brother.
I am representing my mother and myself for A and C, which C is the one requesting the variance.
I'm sorry, our documents report it to B. This is the surveyor, and the
Mhm.
property in question is the linear piece labeled C up there on the
Correct.
surveyor.
Right.
But in GIS, it's known as B.
Understood.
Okay.
Sorry. In referring to what I'm looking at on the screen, the property in question is listed here as property C. So we purchased the property and we were not told under any circumstances that there would be any problem permitting or anything else. My parents were on A, my father has since passed away, and I was going to build a house on C, and I was told I couldn't do that. So I met with Will, made a request for variance so that we could actually make it a usable property.
And when was that request made?
3 months ago?
Okay.
Roughly 3 months ago.
Okay. So when the land split occurred, and it occurred at the same time you acquired the property in 2020, July of,
Mhm.
at that time you were not aware when each of you acquired one of the 3 splits.
That's correct. We had no idea. In fact, the property was put on the market as 3 different properties. So when we chose the 2 properties, I chose between the long skinny one and the one behind it. I was going to develop some agriculture on C, and I have since decided not to do that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions of the applicant?
What are your plans? You got A and C, and your brother's got B.
As a matter of fact, I am trying to sell C to the neighbor. So really, it will just shift from us to them so that they will have a better property shape as well.
One moment. May I
Yes,
see
ma'am.
your picture? Now I want to look at her. She did a Google map from the sky.
Yeah,
Okay, so the property next door is another linear split.
that's correct.
Yes, so it would make it double the width, but perhaps the same length, I'll call it.
Right. So it actually probably would be better for them as well.
Okay. Well, thank you for that answer. I
Yes,
And by
appreciate it.
doing that, would it be within the ordinance, the size,
He wouldn't know, that would be Mr. Dingy. Yeah. We'll get to that. Okay. Any other questions?
So you don't have a plan of putting a home on it. You have
your intention is to sell it.
At this point, yes, ma'am. Originally, I wanted to put a house on it, but when we found out we couldn't, then we tried to figure out what we could do. And then I discussed with the kids, our neighbors, and they decided they would like to have it.
So
That's
why are
part
we
of their
having the
property.
variance meeting?
I'm just following what I was told would have to be done.
Okay, so I'm going to go out of order here. I know I'm supposed to get a public comment, but I'm going to ask Mr. Dingy to fill
Sure.
me in.
Good evening again. So that variance, the property owner doesn't have to combine it, whoever owns it. So if the kids next door would acquire this property, if they wish to sell it to their son or whoever, or build a house and sell it, they have every right to do so.
I'm sorry, but I thought the variance meeting today was so to allow the owner currently to build a home on it.
It could be, or it could be in the future. It just needs to
Okay.
make it buildable.
Okay,
Correct.
so if it doesn't sell, whatever, we still have the permission.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
get
yeah.
it. Thank you. That makes a whole lot of sense. Okay, any other questions? Jerry Ann, if,
Pardon me, sorry.
go ahead and
Well,
pass that mic.
the question, going back, was if it is sold to the next property, then it becomes within the ordinance size, correct?
If the neighbor chooses to combine it, it does. But the neighbor could choose to
sell it.
to sell it, or just to construct a home and move in next door.
Okay,
The idea here is to rectify this configuration issue
got it.
and make it hunky-dory.
With that in mind, if he buys the property as is without the variance, and he's got the property next to it, then technically that owner owns two properties, combined would be within the variance.
Potentially, yes. Yeah.
So there really wouldn't need to be a variance.
If the owner chose to do that, correct. However, that's
But it's
the request tonight is for the variance as the
the
current
variance as it
configuration.
stands. Okay. Thank you very much for explaining
Yeah.
that. Jerry Ann, any public comments?
Yes, William Kidd.
Good evening. I might be able to shed a little light on this dilemma. My name's William Kidd. I own the property next door that everybody's talking about. And just to
Other
clear it up,
linear property.
to clear it up right away, okay, I have no intention of joining the two properties,
Okay.
okay? I want to buy that property strictly to have a vacant 5 acres of ground between me and whoever ends up with A and B. We have horses. I don't need another neighbor. But I want to keep the lot as a separate 5 acre parcel, and I want it to be a buildable 5 acre parcel. There's no point in me buying a 5 acre piece of ground that I can't ever do anything with in the future. Now, my immediate plans are, we're not gonna do anything with it. But if I die and my wife decides it's too much for her to take care of, she may wanna sell it all off. And I want that to be a saleable parcel unto itself. Okay? Now, the only question that I have for you, and maybe somebody from the Development Services could answer this, Ms. Lineberry added a condition on the attachment. And on that attachment, it says the owner shall sign a waiver of claims form, which the town will provide and record with the Yavapai County Recorder's Office. Oh, I got it right here. I'm just curious as to what that waiver of claims might be, because I'm assuming that if it goes onto the recorders, it's gonna then transfer to me if I buy it.
Would you answer that for him?
Absolutely. So the waiver of claims is for the current owner. And what the waiver of claims says that if we go through with this request, that he won't sue us because it may diminish the value of the property. It's claiming that, this is something our state legislature did. All of the actions that we take now require the property owner to say, yes, I want this action, and no, it's not going to devalue my property by having this action approved by the town. So he's already signed that, it's been recorded, and you will not have to do anything like that.
Okay, I just wanted to,
Yep,
if it was gonna transfer to me, I wanted to make sure I knew what it was. Thank
That's
you, I
what it
appreciate
is.
that. That's all
Thank
I
you
have.
very
Do you have any
much.
questions for me?
No, sir. Okay. Any other questions of Mr. Dingy or Ms. Berrigan? I have none either. Okay. Mr. Funk, hi there. Would you like to respond to Mr. Kidd's comments?
I'm glad to hear he's going to keep it clear. That's great. No,
Thank
I think the property's great, and I'm thrilled that they're getting it, frankly.
Okay,
So,
thank you, sir. Okay, at this point, I'm going to close the yes, sir.
Could I speak? I'm sorry, I didn't know we had to fill out that sheet.
I think, is that all right with you, Jerry Ann? Okay.
Thank you very much. My name is Ron Romley. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I used to be the vice mayor here several years ago, and I didn't even know we had this kind of a commission. I think it's great. I live just to the south of the property that is in question with the hash marks. Okay? My main concern, and I talked with this young lady here, I think you're the one I talked to, very nice lady, and explained a lot. My biggest concern was our property is within Appaloosa 2 and on the north end of Appaloosa 2. I'm 1, I'm sorry.
Got it.
I've only lived there 20 years.
It's okay.
I can't- 1, 2,
One side of
plus
one
or
west
minus.
and the other side of one west. Got it.
excuse me. What my concern is that there would end up being, I know it'd have to get rezoned, but there would end up being a trailer park or something of that nature in there because it's such a thin piece. Now, I know that it doesn't sound to me like all the ducks in a row yet are there yet, but, and we can wait because I know that's going to, if anything like that happens, it's going to take a rezone. So I guess all of us are kind of in limbo right now as to what's really going to happen. Does that mean that there's going to be, if these two gentlemen get together and sell it, does that eliminates what you guys are here for?
No, we set the future. So it gives variance because it's an irregular shaped lot or parcel. So if indeed in the future someone wants to build a home, it protects that property with not giving any benefit to anybody else in all of Chino Valley to do it to their same. Thus, just giving an exception, a variance to this one piece of property. We can't speak to the future if 20 years from now somebody wants to rezone it or change its zoning. That's future discussions,
Right.
future leadership.
And I'll be here.
Okay, I
But
will
it
expect
sounds
you.
to me like these gentlemen are going to probably work something out. He says he wants to put a home on it. That's all I care about.
Okay,
And animals. Because when we first moved in here, Dr. Killian, the veterinarian, owned it. And he brought more animals home, and it was fun to watch them.
oh, good.
So anyway, I just wanted to.
And the animal discussion is for Will Dingy at a later date,
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
because we know how popular that was, Will, for any of you who watch those meetings. Okay. So at this point, thank you very much, sir. We're going to close the public hearing. It's now time for the board to make a motion and vote. So I think what we'll do is a roll call, and you can announce yay or, pause. I need a motion right now to decide what would you like us to decide on. So I need a motion.
I make a motion to vote on either accepting the variance or not accepting the variance through a roll call.
Pick one. Accept or deny.
To accept.
Okay, thank you. We'll do a roll call. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Good enough. All righty. Let's start with you, Mike. What would you like to do?
Nay.
All right. Julie?
I accept it, yes.
Yes. And Beverly?
Yes.
And that leaves me. And I am going to vote yes, and I'm going to explain why, because that's the next. I will ask you all to explain your votes, but I'll start with mine. The reason I am going to vote yes has nothing to do with the rationale as provided in the document. My rationale what I desire to do is provide us what I'll call kind of a precedent in case this ever occurs again, if somebody else in our wonderful town has decided to create parcels that are not configured appropriately. And by that I mean I'm going to use dates. And how do I use dates? Our UDO was created long ago, and in 2004, a consulting firm came in, and that consulting firm took the time to take two separate documents, reflect in those documents what mattered to this important town we have, and create a new document known as the UDO. The UDO then was approved, and it was approved in July of 2000. My documents here, forgive me. Here we go. All righty. So the UDO was approved in November of 2006. That's a long time ago, but that's what started our UDO as we know it today. Then if we look at the property that occurred, it occurred in July of 2020 when the Funks acquired the property and the previous owners subdivided into 3 lots. That was July of 2020. At the very same time, in September of 2020, our UDO was updated. And why is this important? Because the documents presented before you talk about how it's not compliant to the 2020 UDO. And we all understand that. So let's split hairs. What was the difference in the section we're all commenting on, which we know as 5.3.7, capital D? Here's the big change, folks. In 2006, when the UDO was created by the consulting firm we hired, it read, the depth to width ratio of usable area should be no greater than 3:1. Did you hear the word should? Welcome to 2020, September. The new reading reads, the depth to width ratio of usable area shall be no greater than 3:1. So let's split hairs. Should is a suggestion, kind of good to do, right? Shall is an edict. From this point on, you shall do that. So if we look at this property and the 2020 UDO was given a hard line, we shall, and the previous UDO that dated 2 months earlier said should, I believe because it wasn't a hard word and that should allows for me to say yes to the Funks because it was a softer profile in the UDO in word selection. Anyone else want to explain their reasoning?
Sure. Splitting hairs.
Please.
It's the person who's buying the property or doing something, it's their responsibility to find it out. We came here tonight, in my mind, when I went out and looked at the property so I would understand what was going on. That's simple. I was told that it was going to be a house put on it. Now I'm told that the property is going to be sold to somebody else. And that person's saying, well, maybe I want to keep agriculture, the field. I'm a little confused. When I get confused, I say no. I'll follow the UDO. And the UDO says property shall not be greater than 3:1. So that's what mine is.
Well, I want the property to become more viable for regardless of today's owner or tomorrow's owner. And by allowing this variance, in the event it is sold, the variance will allow for a home, a single family, single dwelling to be put on the parcel, making it a better use of the land as residential. So that's my reasoning.
Julie?
You took the words out of my mouth, basically. Is it for it to be a usable piece of property for a single home? That is my hope for the future.
Okay, so our board has a 3-1. Therefore, the variance passes. Any questions? I close this meeting. Thank you very much.
I make a motion to close the meeting.
Alrighty, let's do it all right. Can I have a motion to close the meeting?
I moved, close the meeting.
I
All
second.
those in second say
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, that scares me that somebody can file with the county recorder and do what they want with the property.
I call bullshit.
Without having like proof of what the
Will, you
property
have to
is.
tell me that story.
Which one?
Somebody can file with the county recorder?
We have.
Yep.
You've got a good lawyer, you got some litigation?
There's nothing in the statutes that tell the county recorder that they can't record